So you went all expenses paid?
Yeah.
Wow, nice hotel?
Well, it was a kind of a townhouse number.
When was this?
2000.
Oh, wow. Okay. And were you doing it because you were going to draw up some plans, or?
I already designed their stuff for them, and I was over there presenting it to the planning group and getting their approvals. And it was kind of cool. It was, but I was so impressed with Kauai. It was such a neat friggin' place. It was just nice.
Yeah,
so nice.
I mean, I don't think the number of Hawaiians that we saw, I could probably count on my hands. You know, it was people like us. You know, it's like people from the mainland.
Mostly Hawaiians over on Kauai.
Mm.
I shouldn't say mostly, but probably 50%.
All that work you did, though, for that client was like, what do they call it? Pro bono? You know, you were trying to get the deal?
No, they paid me.
Oh, okay.
That was cool. It was a nice deal.
Hmm. You know what I've been meaning to ask you? We go to the beach. You know, we're in Ventura, obviously. We go to the beach, and along the beach, there's all these cool-ass houses. Do you being like an architect, do you like notice? Do you see it differently than like somebody like me? Like you can walk by and look at this house and be like, oh, that's this. You notice the angles and you notice all these various aspects.
Yes, I can look at a lot of different structures. Right away, I can see what kind of thought went into it, and whether they're good and genuine, or whether they're copycats or something else. Or
wow, so there's like hacky architecture.
Yeah. But I did some beach houses in Malibu.
Oh, really?
Did a couple down there.
And I feel the feeling I get when I look at, like, because you go to the beach, you see a string of them. They're all very different. I mean, there's like no similarities between them to my eyes.
Well, beach house, you have specifics. The view is always, primary interest to make sure that you're optimizing the effect of the view to the various rooms that you have. And here, on a regular residential street, it's a different kind of solution. It's thinking about, what on-site amenities do you have, and how can you embellish those to make this whole ensemble something pretty special.
Were you having to consider plumbing and stuff, or you let somebody else do that?
No,
you had to consider where the pipes.
All of that crap. Yeah, I had to do the whole electrical and plumbing. Everything has to go into the structure. And a lot of architects don't get into that much of it. They dance around on the outside with some pretty little design or something, and then let other people do the real work involved. And it's funny because when you're under construction, there needs to be some guidance there. There needs to be some overruling component that keeps things together and keeps it cohesive. And, too often, whatever the effort was is lost because of non-attention or non-ability, let's say, on the part of the architect to be involved in that. Because for me, I started out doing construction.
Oh, really?
When I was, let me think.
Hammer and screwdriver. Actually the...
Well, I went to work for a company called Santa Monica Mill. And I ended up half owning the place in just a few years. Just a few years. And it was like I learned everything there was to learn about, or mostly everything, about millwork, about how you make things with the machinery, and all of the aspects of making things come together and, building things. Whether it was cabinet work or I was involved in that, and it was really enjoyable. I dug it. And then, okay, darling, you got it. Anyway, the activities. I'm trying to think what year. 63.
Wow.
1963 is when I sold out and went into architecture full time, and was really working for architectural firms at that point.
As a sort of freelance almost.
Well, whatever, it's a
Hey, Darla! Hey, Darla! Go! 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 I'll put some. That one. You think so?
That one. It's just grandma dragging it over.
Oh, man. Bottle's got a hole in it. More than one hole.
What happened?
I like bumped it. Went everywhere.
He got excited.
Oh.
Leslie, call her.
Man, so you started nuts and bolts. You started at a very fundamental level.
Well, what's funny is I was hired by this company, Santa Monica Mill, to do drawings.
You're a kid or what? You're like 20?
I was 18 or 19, to do drawings for them.
Yeah.
Shop drawings of
No kidding.
cabinets and whatever they were going to build. And through that, I got to know everybody and worked my way through the whole process. Worked in the shop whenever I got a chance or whenever there was opportunity. And within a year or two, I was running the place. And,
Wow, without a
top of
college
the world.
education.
Yeah,
Without a degree.
yeah. My buddy of mine, we were in the Marine Corps together, and he just could not believe it. He was, oh shit, I don't think he had a master's, but he had a degree in something, and he ended up being a professor
Wow.
at UCLA, and he's retired now and about ready to croak, I think, living up in Marin County. But, oh, Princess! You nerd.
Did you have to learn, because I would imagine like in a college, let's say like with the degree, you'd have to learn about like Greek architecture and, Roman architecture. Do you ever have to get in any of that like information?
You study history of architecture and all of the things that, went before us. That was recorded history. I mean, there's so much. You watch any of these programs like Ancient Aliens, that alien right there is in love with.
Diane's going crazy because she can't follow you out here with Princess.
Anyway, see if you can get her in the pool.
Get it wet. Splash it.
Dad, you're teasing her.
Anyway, history was, in the early days, history of architecture was a big deal. You studied all the different temples and
Yeah.
all the other structures that went before us, and learning from some of the components and what was good and what was bad. I did quite a few. Started really in the 50s, late 50s, when architects like Neutra and Frank Lloyd Wright was still poking around.
Or were they kind of advancing the field?
Well,
I don't even know who those guys are.
Come on.
I don't know who they are. good architects or revolutionary architects?
They're pretty good ones. Yeah, they're pretty good guys. There's a whole string of them that came out in the 40s and 50s and 60s that were, what did they call them? What did they do to you, little baby? Oh, what did they do to you? Oh, that eye looks so sore. Yes, it does. It looks sore.
What were they doing that was so special? Like the guys you mentioned, what were they sort of doing that was different?
Well, the conventional house was pretty much a dyed-in-the-wool pattern of spaces and assembly of those spaces into something conventional. And these guys came along and said, how about if we open it up? Open floor plan. Open these areas up. Get away from all the gingerbread, all the curlicues and all the other stuff, and just go with clean lines. And like Mies van der Rohe was a pretty famous commercial architect. And he was from oh god,
Something European?
Austria or,
Yeah.
or Deutschland. Well, I'm not sure. It was
Some
somewhere
European.
over there. Anyway, he worked half his life here in the United States in a lot of buildings that were really considered top-end modern buildings were done by him in tall buildings in Chicago, for instance, New York, some really specific nice buildings
Yeah.
that still exist today. And that was Mies van der Rohe. Neutra was a local architect that espoused this European discipline of design, more modern, more techy, and I can't remember the names of a bunch of others that were going through the same process at the time. But there's examples of their work all around. And if you go down to Palm Springs, there's all kinds of, because that's where a lot of the people with money, actors, actresses, famous people,
They want a special house.
had their things built down there, and they used some of these specific high-end architects to do their work. Was there maybe a day in and out of the airport on my way?
Oh, I see. So you weren't like in...
Where were they going from there? Minnesota, I think. I had a project in outside Minneapolis, and so I had to go there, and I did a job in Chicago. I did a number of jobs around the country that were mostly medical services,
Wow.
surgery centers, they were called. And that was kind of a big deal for a while. Oh, that feels so good. Nice and cool.
What? Darla, scooch
Oh, yeah.
over. Hi. She scooches. What? Smacks your tail. Oh, thank you. I'll put it on there. I'm too wet right now. I'm just gonna make all
Yeah.
three
I was just imagining if you were standing like in the heart of like Times Square, if you haven't already, just imagine like an architect in the like middle of Times Square looking at like all the structures there. I would think like your mind would just be blowing up.
Well,
You ever-
it's funny. No, I did not get to Times Square in my travels over there. It's funny now that you mention it, because Should have spent more time there. But the
Chicago
buildings-
too. I think there'd be some great architecture in Chicago.
Oh, there is. It's fantastic. That's where, like I was telling you earlier, Mies van der Rohe, that's where he did a bunch of his structures. And just very clean and very simple, very nice buildings. And I'm very much into that direction. I don't go for the...
And you don't necessarily mean
Frou-frou.
simple, do you? You're saying clean. Is there a difference between a clean thing and a simple design?
Well, simple can be misinterpreted. I don't know. You're talking about high-rise buildings and stuff like that. The thought that goes into them, usually, there's initial concept, what you might be trying to achieve. But then there's just a lot of thought goes into the size of the components and the repetition of different elements and how they're assembled and what they're put together. And that doesn't even touch the logistics of how they are actually built.
Yeah.
That's another story. Oh, what service! What service!
Give it a shot.
These aren't my best work, so I wouldn't try these ones.
Do you like eggs?
I love
I
it.
wouldn't.
Dude,
She's
give it a
telling
shot.
you don't try them.
Because
you love eggs-
I love a deviled egg, and I would hate for your first impression of a deviled egg to be these ones.
Why? They're not that
No.
My
great?
favorite.
They're fine.
Are you adventurous with food? Have you ever been adventurous with food?
Yes,
So like you eat like snake or octopus or some shit?
absolutely.
No, Darla.
You found my two favorites, snake and octopus.
You've had that?
Only time I ate snake was when I was out camping, and that was what was available
You caught and killed it?
for chow. Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah.
Have you ever had like elk, like an elk burger or something like that?
Bison, elk, antelope, deer.
You liked it.
Yeah, not too bad, is it?
That's me being adventurous.
That's what just happened?
Yeah.
We didn't get a picture of it. Damn.
That's pretty good. Wow. I didn't think I would like that.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was good.
Making it. Princess, go sit down.
What about sushi? You like sushi?
Yep.
The craziest stuff.
Most sushi I like.
So like you would like a roll with like nothing but like orange eggs in it, like orange fish eggs, like that kind of thing.
I never had one of those, I don't think.
But like raw
Mostly
salmon or something.
Some form of fish and seaweed and whatever else they have in them.
Have you been out of the country before?
No, they won't let me.
Really? You never been out? Come on, you've been to Chicago, New York, Minneapolis. You never
I've been all around the States. I've been to Mexico, of course.
Wow, you never been to Europe?
Get what?
You never been to Europe?
Nope.
Me neither. But I'm a little afraid to fly over the ocean though, like all the way to Europe. Freaks me out.
Yeah, but you don't have to do the flying.
Well,
Just sit.
there's like this like terrible helplessness though when you're sitting there. Like I know you should trust the pilot, trust the machine, but like on the way to Hawaii, I was like freaking out. Like you have no control. You're just in this like moving machine in the air that could fall out of the sky any second. So flying over the Atlantic
Wow.
Ocean freaks me out.
Wow.
You have
Well,
a lot-
I have not been to Europe. I haven't been anywhere except local.
Sounds like you have a lot of faith in the aircraft engineers.
Look, it's like anything else. If you read about some of these crashes, airline crashes, where they happen and why, and all that kind of stuff, And it's interesting because so much of it is just chance, you know,
Yeah.
a bearing or a seal or something else didn't get found when they were doing their maintenance work, and you run into trouble. And it's kind of strange, but it's sort of like swimming in the ocean, the way I look at it. A lot of people will just be so freaked out because of sharks that they don't want to do that. And I started out, I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and I started swimming in the ocean and diving, free diving, until I got scuba gear. And it's funny because, you know, when you're used to it, it just, you don't think anything of it. There's a shark, so there's a fucking shark. You know, you just, if it gets too close to you, you hit him on the nose or whatever. It really is. It's funny because I used to take my younger brothers. I had 3 younger brothers, and we lived in Malibu.
Wow. When was this? Back in
And I'd
what,
take 'em
60s or
50s,
wow?
and I'd take them out, and we'd go 2 or 3 miles out in the ocean.
In a boat?
And I'd have them on a little raft, one of those blow-up raft things.
Wow.
And I'd be swimming, pushing the raft, and every once in a while I'd get them out of the raft and say, "Come on, swim with me. It's no big deal." And they got used to it, and it was no big thing for them. But I didn't find out until sometime in the last couple of months that my wife was so scared of the ocean. She was so afraid, not so much of the sharks, but just of the mighty waves and the wave action and all that kind of stuff. And the only time I can remember coming close to dying was through one of those big events where major wave sizes were coming in.
Out in the ocean.
And I went out, and I was I was body surfing, and I got just at the wrong part of this wave, and they take you and they push you down to the bottom.
Right.
And then it just kept you down there for a period of time.
Yeah.
And that was
Dad.
And what do you have to wait it out or you have to fight it out?
well, you can see the light at where
You can't panic, I assume. If you panic, you're just done, right?
it's just it's energy that's wasted. If you sooner or later the wave is going to stop pressing you down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
you swim on up to the top, get a gulp of air, and you're back into all this foam and froth from the huge wave that just went through. Every once in a while we get some major waves here off the coast. I mean 6, 8, 10, 12 footers that are pretty major,
Yeah.
to the norm. Normal waves are maybe 2 to 3 feet high.
Cheers.
You betcha.
July 11th, 7-Eleven. You know what I've never heard about is your folks.
Any more margarita mix?
Were your folks immigrants or were they born here?
They were born here.
Okay, that means they were here for a long ass time.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, or actually,
My dad didn't live past 66, 65 or 66.
when did he pass? 70s, 80s?
'60s, I think. Late
Wow.
'60s. My mother died when she was 92.
92.
Yeah, so she changed the picture a little bit.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And that was about what, 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh wow. No freaking kidding.
She was from Portland,
Portland,
Oregon, and she was part.
They don't get along.
Oh gosh, what's the name of the Indian tribe? Fudge, I used to know it. I can't think of it now.
Grandma, do
Anyway,
you like root beer? Oh, you got a beer.
yes, no roots in this one.
I got those bottled root beers. They're real good.
Really?
Is it root beer or is it beer?
It's root beer.
Oh.
Yeah, they're really yummy. And we got vanilla ice cream. Do you
Ooh,
like
wee.
sugar floats?
Oh, okay. I didn't see the connection right away, but yeah, I do.
So that means she was born in 1919.
Hmm.
My dad was 10 years older, so he was born in 1909,
Oh wow.
give or take.
Them-
Hey, I just opened this mayo. It's like brand new.
Hawaii and Alaska might not have even been states at that point. You know.
No, there's a new one. I bought another one too.
Yeah, what'd they do though? You're about to say what were they into?
My dad was,
There's 2 squeeze bottles. I don't know if it.
he injured himself on the farm.
Got it.
This is a farm he grew up on with,
I think that's like the oil
Jesus,
stuff with it.
Bunch of siblings.
13 brothers and sisters, or 14, I don't
No.
know how many.
Yeah.
Whole bunch.
No.
Anyway, he,
I just opened a brand new
broke
jar
his
of
hip.
Trader Joe's organic
Wow, that's
mayonnaise.
major too.
tractor turned over and
Oh.
There was like discoloration in it.
he broke his hip, and that prevented him from going into the military.
Not those ones. That was a squeeze bottle, but I need like a whole cup and a half of this pasta salad.
Excuse me. And
It was like slightly pinkish. I think it's just the oil.
He went-
It's more. Yeah.
this was in
gotta mix it.
Fudge.
Not pink. It was like no one. It was a darker.
What would it have been?
Like what, 1930? Because he said he was born in 09, so he got hurt what when he was 10, 20?
Yeah, probably 12 years old when he got hurt.
My
So
God.
he missed out some school. Took school on the side or something. I don't remember how that worked out. He was a really smart
I
guy,
think it's fine.
but he didn't get a good start there in education. And
See it sliding down.
went out west in, let's see, what would it have been?
Wow, because yeah, he was in Wisconsin. You said right?
Maybe 1930, 1928.
Babe, do you want your sunglasses?
He went out west with a friend of his, and they were, periodically they were picking fruit and whatever for farms on the way, helping with harvesting and whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
And when he got to California,
I think it's just the oil.
the CCC was a civilian construction corps or whatever.
Go
the hell
the
it
other
is.
way, Amber. Amber, go around.
They had programs where a lot of unemployed young men.
I'll get you mine.
Amberitis.
Hi.
How you
That
doing?
sounds like a disease.
You'll get over it. Anyway, they
What?
were hired by the state or feds, I don't know what it is. I guess it was a federal program to go to the various national parks
Wow.
and improve the facilities, trails, enhancement of trails,
Yeah.
steps into the side of rocks, whatever it might have been. They did a whole lot of variety of things there. And this was for 2 or 3 years, I think.
With his buddy.
Yeah. And then came to. Is that Nicole?
It is.
How about them apples? And then he,
Obviously, all before he met your mother.
yeah. Then he started. He went to work for Carnival because he was able to do a lot of stunts.
No
he was
way.
able to hold people up with his hands and tight rope walking and just a whole variety of things.
Yeah.
And
Did you take it?
I put it right there.
Is your dad on the margarita? Hi, Grandpa.
where
That one margarita did
is it true that you're thinking about having a birthday?
We talked
I can't
about it.
decide.
I don't believe
On
it.
one hand, you get presents. On the other, you get old.
Older. Not old. Older.
Okay, anyway, he went to work for this carnival.
Do you know where by
My
chance?
mom,
California?
yeah, somewhere in California. And my mom ran away from home at the age of 17 or 18, whatever.
You know why?
And she had a terrible existence with her stepmother.
Mm.
And so anyway, she went to work for this carnival as well. And she was, I don't know, doing the games and some of the other shit that people do, you know.
Wow, no kidding.
And they met at this carnival. And that was it. My mother, she said, that was my, what'd she call him? Honey duck.
Money duck or honey duck?
Honey. That's cute. I think it was about a year after they met that they got married. I'm not absolutely certain.
Wow. And this must have been in the 30s, right? Late 30s?
Well,
Because
Let's see.
you're born in 39. You have older brothers and sisters? Or?
I have an older brother who was born in 37.
Oh, okay. And I'd imagine they would get married and have a kid pretty fast. Not fast, but within each other, within a year of each other.
Pretty soon. Pretty quick, yes.
Wow, no kidding.
Yep.
So how did they produce...
So they ended up moving to Santa Monica.
hmm.
And my grandfather had a used car lot and a new car dealership.
Your mother's father.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, his father was a farmer back in Michigan.
Wow.
And anyway, so my dad worked for my grandfather for a few years.
Selling cars?
Yeah, and didn't like it. It was just too difficult to raise a family with the sporadic
Sales. And
money and stuff like that. It was just not a consistent program. So he had the chance to work for North American Aviation
wow.
back then, and this would have been in the 40s sometime.
Wow, they wouldn't have had... That wouldn't have even been commercial... There was no commercial airlining back then, right?
Oh, this wasn't commercial. They were on a program
It had to be military
make-
at that point.
to make the landing devices and the
Wow.
capsules for the moon trip, among other things. And so
Wow.
he started into that stuff.
How?
He
Okay,
really shined.
that's crazy, and I believe it. I'm just saying he goes from being like a farmer, carnival worker to aviation worker, or actually car salesman to aviation. I mean, that's just like grassroots working your way up. That's crazy.
It's funny because it's all in what so much of that stuff is sometimes coincidence, sometimes just by chance. The kind of people that are interviewing you have some extensive or limited knowledge, depending on their background, but they are able to find something that was good about him,
Yeah.
where he fit into that real well, and he was really good as an example in precision machining. He did a lot of that on the farm. And it didn't sound like you did much precision work on a farm, but working with the kind of tools that you would use, grinders and
Yes, that mechanical
different things.
understanding.
So he had a good background in that, where he'd take the tractor apart and put it back together. And all this other crap that most kids, with the way,
Yeah.
not gonna touch that sucker. But he was an interesting dude, very talented guy. I'd look at a lot of his drawings sometimes, and they were just so far advanced to the direction that the aviation industry was going. It was really cool. Yes, can we help you, young lady?
Absolutely not. But maybe a little.
Does that mean you're beyond help?
Wow. So what did he? What? So he was in aviation and this stuff. How many years did he do that? Where did he end up?
He actually retired from North American Aviation when he was 65.
Wow. So he was with them for 30 years, something like that.
25 years or whatever it was.
Wow.
Quite
No
some
kidding.
time.
With no education, almost. Sort of, right? You said he did some schooling, but
Just, high school, basically. That's
yeah.
if anything, that was the top he achieved.
And was your
But
mother?
he was very smart, and he could have done all kinds of things. Very excellent in math. Some people just have that segment of their head that grabs onto stuff like that and makes sense out of it.
Mm.
Others look at it so confused, and it's like, holy crap, who would want to do that kind of job?
Right. So you think
Yeah.
he had a mind for like complex stuff, basically?
Yep. And you could see it in his drawings, too. It was really cool. I'd look at his stuff that he'd doodle on sometimes from work.
I mean, what would it be though? Like pistons? I mean, so you say sketches and drawings. What do you mean? But what are you actually looking at? What are they sketches of?
Like flight simulators and aircraft and objects that might be robotic.
Just how parts are interconnected and stuff.
Yeah, just a lot of. But you could look at it and you could see there was a genuine concept there that was really high level.
And that
from my point of view,
and I imagine that's pre-electronic. I mean, it was all like a mechanical at that point. You're pulling a lever. It couldn't have been that electronic back then.
No, it was pretty
Or
electronic.
actually, if he did for 30 years, he could have been doing that into the 50s and 60s, early 60s.
He was one of those that was responsible for the space capsule that went to the moon.
Wow.
And he was very proud of that.
So,
and each of the people that worked on those things had various requirements or various abilities that was something very special.
and was your mother like a housewife, basically?
Basically, yeah.
What was she good at?
She was excellent at drawing as well. And she was good with animals. She raised guppies.
Those fish?
These are fish. And she actually crossbred them to develop some super, what they call veil tails, or special guppies that were not the norm, but the extra fancy ones.
Yeah.
And then she also raised. Can we help you, young lady?
Nope. I'm good.
Beyond help. Okay. Then she raised parakeets. And of course, when I was home as a kid, I was the epitome of the animal nut.
Oh, you liked animals?
Oh yeah, geez, with my dad, I built a pigeon coop for my homing pigeons, and I saw that.
Ooh.
And I don't know, 20 or 30 pigeons, something like that. And then I also had hawks and owls. I'd go to climb the rocks.
Owls?
Yeah, I'd climb the rocks or I'd climb the trees and find their nests. And when the babies were the right age, I'd pull them out and say, "Time to come live with me." Yes.
Darla.
Who are you looking for?
Darla.
What for?
Where is she? Where is she? Darla,
Try the garage.
come here.
Did
Huh.
you find her?
That's kind of weird, huh?
Well, maybe she's in the room.
Not there. Okay.
I had poppets I was messing out with. If I had them like off in the distance, what she would do. Oliver won't even hear him.
Wow.
Anyway, let's see. Where were we in our tale of woes here?
Well, your
Oh,
mother.
my mother.
So wait,
Yeah,
I mean,
besides the fish and the parakeets, she also had some dogs. She raised French poodles.
dog? You said dogs?
French poodles.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
oh, Darla, come here.
What a wild woman.
Okay.
Similar things with parakeets. She made some special,
Would see new colors or things like that.
special colors and different things like that that were kind of unique, different. Anyway, let's see, what else did she do? Dogs. She had French poodles. And that was went through several sets of puppies with those guys.
So you,
And when my dad passed away, she pretty well quit doing a lot of the things she used to do.
wow, that's interesting because you said your dad passed away at like 66 or. So you were still a super young man when your dad passed away. You were what, 25, 20, something like that.
Yeah, early 20s.
But then your mom lived for a lot longer after that. She
Yep.
lived for another 40 years or something like that.
Exactly.
Did she ever remarry or was just a widow for the rest of her life?
Yep. Yep. One of those things.
Was that like a loyalty thing, you think? Like in those days where like, oh, I'm just not going to remarry, or is it that she just had no interest in like doing it again?
I probably was loyalty more than anything. But she was also ill. She was not real healthy for the last 15 or 20 years of her life. So serious arthritis and I don't know what all. Not too cool, not too cool. She lived up in, you know where Angels Camp is?
Or what?
Angels Camp?
No, I'm not sure what that is.
It's Northern California. It's one of the, if you study the gold rush history of the Sierras, Angels Camp was one of the places of interest. Anyway, she lived up there for, how long? 15 years?
Was she in a senior center?
No, she lived in a trailer park with one of my younger brothers, Dan. And when he died of a heart attack, and maybe 20 years ago, 18 years ago, well, back in the, and so he was helping take care of her. And when he croaked, then we decided, family members decided that we'd bring her down to Southern California, keep her in a hospice or a home here where she could be closer to us and all that stuff. And that was good for another 10 years or so.
Wow.
Finally bit the bullet.
You've lived to see him pass away before you.
And my older brother, too. He died this year or last year. It was last year.
I mean, how do you, what are you thinking when stuff like that happens where it's like you're reevaluating how things ought to go and how they don't go that way? You would imagine it to fall in line where the oldest goes first and, do you reevaluate how you see things?
Yeah, there's no cut and dried system there, really.
Just chaos?
No, it's just each of us takes care of his body differently. And some people have the right system. They don't smoke excessively, and they don't eat a lot of fatty foods, or they don't, whatever. They do something right, and their longevity is ensured or assured that they will be around for a while. What? What did you say?
I was talking to Leslie.
Leslie, I've heard of her.
It's a little nicer out here.
Who? Exactly. Who? And what? And why?
I mean, like what I was saying though, is that I haven't experienced much loss in my life. Only my grandfather. So, but you've experienced losses of your siblings. At some point, is that notion of order just shattered when somebody younger than you, who do you expect to outlive you? You never had that notion?
No, I look at it from a very, like I say, very practical standpoint. My younger brother didn't take care of himself very well. And had a major heart attack and died. And that's to be expected under those circumstances. My older brother, a year after my mother died, he had a stroke. And he was incapacitated up until he left us last February, I think.
So he was out for how long? Did he go like, was he in coma or something, or?
No, he was in, oh gosh, therapy, trying to get him to be able to walk again and be able to use his limbs again. And his left side, I think, or right side, I don't remember which, was paralyzed. So he was SOL. He was.
Was he different after that? Like, I know sometimes when people go through like a stroke, like their brain is just a little different. Was he the same guy, just kind of paralyzed a bit?
Same guy, but he was very much into computers and had a business or two that he was trying to develop on the computer. And he's another interesting dude.
Yeah, what was he about?
He had a scholarship to UCLA, best you could get for 4-year.
How'd he get that though?
By taking exams or whatever.
Just a good student in high school.
And my dad was so proud. My gosh. And
firstborn.
Yeah. And I was proud of him too. I just thought, oh, this is great. Well, he had a girlfriend who turned him on his head. Said, get lost. I'm all done with that or whatever. I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, it just crushed him. And he didn't want to do anything after that.
Wow.
He dropped out of school, started drinking real heavy.
No.
And
before he could use the scholarship at all.
Oh yeah, before he I don't think he had a month of school, maybe 6 weeks when everything unraveled. And
that was a surprise to all of you, I imagine.
Oh yeah, my dad was so disappointed, so was I, and then to top it off, when he's drinking and going off in that direction, it was just really bad news. So he was kind of the black sheep of the family for 5 years or more.
And brilliant, also.
Very, very intelligent guy, very smart. It's just such a stupid shame that because of his convinced that this girlfriend was it for him, that he blew everything at the time. It was just a shame. Just a shame.
You spend years imagining for him, what could have been.
Yeah.
What do you think he would have done? Like a science?
Well, he went into engineering. That was his program at UCLA, and he was going to be I don't remember which kind of engineer, but whatever. Anyway, it didn't work. And subsequent to that, he started heavily putzing around with computers. And of course, this was the early stages of computers, And he was doing programming, and he was doing this and doing that. And the Navy hired him.
Wow, even after all this stuff.
Yeah. Navy hired him, and he went to do all this programming for the Navy and troubleshooting on their computers and all kinds of crap. and he lived in Oxnard, which was perfect.
Yeah.
With the Navy right there. So, although they sent him to West Virginia, and they sent him to
all without a college education.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, God, how did they find a guy like that, though? Some guy off the map without an education? I mean, he was dabbling somewhere to be known by somebody. Unless he applied. He saw something like, hey, they need a guy who can do this.
Probably.
Was he still drinking?
Oh, slowed down on that stuff. He and I would have a drink of scotch maybe once a week.
And is that a lot or not that much? Like, is that frequent? That's not much.
No, maybe once a month.
Did you look up to him?
Huh?
Did you look up to him as an older brother?
Yeah, pretty much. In fact, he worked for me for a while. I had an office in Westlake Village, 2,500 square foot office. I only used personally about 1,200 square feet, so I rented the rest of it out. But Tom was going to bring us into the computer age. And that's his name, Tom. And so he worked for me for, 4 or 5 years.
Good years?
Yeah, fairly good. Just didn't go as I expected it to. And he wasn't real happy with the way it evolved to. But, because I thought, see, when, I think what year that might have been.
When you had this like flat, it was kind of like a flat
82.
almost? Wow.
Well, 81 through 98, I think. 97 or 98.
You had that space?
That's when I had
Wow.
this space.
And was that like booming? That was like a booming time for you.
It was pretty good, yeah. I had some interesting clients. I had an office down in Encino before that. And in Encino, I met a lot of high rollers and big shot
Wealthy people?
Yeah, sort of. Actors and etc. Right? And so when I opened my office out in Westlake Village, I sent invitations to all these people to come out and help celebrate the new place and all this kind of crap. And most of them didn't show up. They didn't feel comfortable in doing that. It was a long ways from Westlake Village was a long ways from Encino.
Yeah. Or where was the
15 years.
you mentioned that big square footage. Where was that office? Westlake? And that's where your brother worked with you
Westlake
for...
Village, exactly. Off Via Colinas.
And what? So you're saying Westlake, since obviously now it's like a wealthy area and stuff. Even back then it was even back then it was wealthy and like high class.
Yeah, there was some class there.
Wow.
Some of it was high.
Did you feel like you were in that proximity of like wealth and like whatever it is they are? You were in that proximity.
See, I part of what I used to do was a lot of industrial parks. Design.
And like, what is that? Like, what's like an industrial park?
That's a bunch of industrial buildings in a group with their own parking and everything.
Nothing like residential.
No, not necessarily like residential. I was in this industrial park that I had originally proposed on and didn't get the job.
Somebody else.
But the price was right. I think it was, let me think, 27 cents a square foot. I think
Yeah.
29 cents or 27 cents.
And is that a month or just at all to get the place in the first place?
That's per month.
Okay.
But anyway, it was price was good. Buildings were nice. Location was good right off the freeway.
Mm.
Everything made good sense there.
Right.
And had a pretty good roll at it for a while, and then when was it? 84 or 85. trying to think. Things went a little sour.
In the 80s, late 80s?
Yeah, or early 80s, somewhere in there. I had projects in Aurora, Colorado, Calabasas, where somewhere else. I can't even think of it now. Anyway, I had 3 really nice projects in the millions.
Wow. And that's purely from a design standpoint, right? You're not like on the floor out there on the construction site.
No.
It's purely a design standpoint.
Yeah, I did combine some inspections with that. That was not that big a deal. Anyway, that was looking so rosy. I had in each of these projects, part of my deal, besides a good fee, was I'd get 2,500 square feet of office space on the top floor. And the one in Aurora, Colorado, looked at the Rockies.
Wow.
I mean, it was just...
So what, you rented it out, or you actually
No,
used it?
it was never built.
Oh, okay. Got it.
This was all in the planning and, all that kind of level of thinking.
Right.
And I went through the approval process in Aurora, got everything approved. And then the developer, who I knew pretty well, decided he was going to sell it and sold the project to, I don't remember now. And they weren't going to go ahead with what I had designed. They were going to do something entirely different. And so there went my Agura project,
My God, that must have been
Aurora, Colorado project.
that must have been just like a shitty day, right? The news lands on you that didn't go through. I mean, you're drinking a whole bottle of vodka that night. Like, what are you doing on a night like that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Hard times.
Yeah, and then the project in the other big one, where I had a similar arrangement, was a 3-story in Agura Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And the owners went belly up,
Oh shit. So you can't even be pissed off at them
which meant that I didn't even get my fee for that
for the
portion of the
design
work.
in the first place.
Yeah. And
I mean, what do they
had
tell you? Sorry? They say, hey,
same-
sorry.
Yeah, what are you going to do? And same deal with them. I had 2,500 feet of office space on the 3rd floor of this guy.
That would be
Looking to the west.
that you would
Which would
get
have
once it's
replaced,
built.
would have replaced the Westlake Village
Right.
office for that one here locally, or there locally. And then I'd also have the office in Aurora, Colorado,
So what's
which would have been, I would have been on top of the world.
So what's because I just don't understand because I don't know anything about that kind of world. What's so important about having these office spaces? Like, because like me being like an untrained eye and brain, I imagine you just having like, build a shack in the backyard, manage it from there. What's the importance or value or sense in like having these office spaces like in these buildings? Like, you're actually conducting business out of these places?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question about that. I'm conducting whatever business is available. I had one deal cooking. It was through a friend of mine, Wayne Fukuda, who is now dead. Japanese architect. Good friend, worked for me for a number of years. He introduced me to this client from the Philippines. And these guys were so out front with everything, so progressive about their thinking. they wanted to do everything possible here in the United States for the Philippine immigrants.
Wow.
Schools, churches, you name it.
What was their why? They just cared that much about their country, or
Well, obviously, if you look at any kind of a business program, there's obviously a return, financial return, that's associated
which would be exponential
with all of this stuff. And this thing was like cloak and dagger, because these guys supposedly found a bunch of this gold in the Philippines, and were
That's what they said.
Huh?
That's what they said, right?
Yeah, and they were.
You believe them?
Getting it. Well, why else would they go through all these gyrations? They were buying this, and doing that, doing
Right.
everything. I mean, they were top of the world anyway. But it was cloak and dagger because they were so fearful that the Philippine mafia was going to locate them and wipe them out.
Right.
And sure as hell, that's what happened.
That's what happened.
The day before, I was to go on a helicopter ride with them.
With those guys.
Yes, with those guys to the Colorado River. One of their goals was to make a aqua farm, fish farm. And they'd been looking at a number of different pieces of property, and they wanted my opinion on which one they should go with. Well, this friend of mine, Fukuda, sold them a bill of goods. I'm sure that I was capable of doing anything and everything, which
Right.
it really was. I mean, no matter what it was, I could do it.
Yeah.
And this issue was about looking at the topography, looking at the terrain, and deciding whether it was practical to locate the aqua farm in this area with water coming from the Colorado River being channeled over this way.
Yeah.
Or did it make more sense going on the other side and doing it from there? Some other program. Anyway, I had a briefing on it. I didn't have a real strong picture. But what would happen, I would go to meet these people.
And you met them.
And
You
I'd
actually
meet
met
them
these
at a
guys.
hotel. And I'd be sitting, waiting for a half an hour while I could see people watching me and all these things going on before I got to meet them, because they were concerned about being followed or
Right.
all this kind of crap.
So you're sitting there at a table noticing this stuff happening around you.
It was weird, anyway. But it would have made me a millionaire almost overnight. I mean,
Right.
because not just the fish, the aqua industry, but the hospitals and housing and this and that. It just went on and on and on.
Right.
And they had the
Capital
capability,
influence.
Yeah, they had the ability to latch onto the property,
I know.
pay the fees, and do what needed to be done to make these things happen.
And you're telling me, like, within days of you not meeting these people, but within days of you, like, having a meeting with them, they up and turned dead. And they're suspicious.
One guy who was the head of the show, he and his family were all killed.
Oh my God. Missing or shot dead?
I think they were shot dead.
Oh my God.
And then some of the other people were subsequently routed and shot, or
Who knows what?
But anyway, it all just disappeared overnight.
So all that work and thought basically was just gutted.
Yeah, it was all gone after that.
Oh my God.
It was weird because you think, you got it made. This is the opportunity that you never could have hoped for.
Right.
You know, it's just like everything laid out for you. Not
Oh.
laid out for me, but
And you met these guys.
yeah,
Had dinner with them.
yep. Had lunch with them.
What were they like? Nice, smart,
Yeah.
suspicious?
Well, they were.
Or you didn't know? Did you know at the time, like, hey, these guys are kind of, you know? Did
I
you,
knew a little bit about it because, I mean, I couldn't miss. You know, every time I would meet with them, I met with them 3 different times. And every time I'd meet with them, I'd go through this procedure of you go over and sit over there, and they're watching you and doing this and doing that. And
Someone pat you down? I mean,
well, it wasn't quite. They weren't so concerned about me. They looked at my background. This is part of what
so they knew a lot about you.
part of what sold them on me was I was Catholic, and I had principles, and you know, it was integrity and all this other crap. And they were not concerned about me or my loyalties. They were.
Like what's attached to you, who could be fishing around you, maybe?
They weren't even concerned about that, I don't think, because they did a lot of investigating of me and my operation. At the time, it was in Encino. Was just strange, just a strange phenomena.
So is it only in reflection that you realize like what you went through? You know, so like for instance, you're sitting there at the table. You know, do you kind of know what's going on? Like, oh, these are mafia guys. You know, these guys are dangerous. Or it's only after all this information that you get that you find out they were gunned down and that they were the brothers of so and so. And you know, when do you know? When do you like reflect and think about?
I had some inkling about it.
Just the process itself told you that it was kind of.
But it was not until it actually happened that I knew. Oh man!
I mean, God, do you feel like you dodged a bullet?
Yeah, this guy had 3 children, a wife and a sister-in-law or a sister. They were all living together in one place.
Out here in the States,
They were
California,
I think over in West LA. I'm not sure.
and all wiped out.
Yeah, they were all.
Oh my God!
I don't know anything.
I mean, how do you get news that a family's wiped out? Somebody called, hey, dude, the you know, so and so plant went under because his family's
A
wiped. You know,
friend of mine, Wayne Fukuda, he called me and said, "Don't bother getting ready for the
oh my
plane
God!
trip today."
Does it make you wonder what that guy knew? What Facunda, or whatever his name, what he knew? Maybe he knew more than you did. You don't think so?
I don't know. I've heard so many in the interim. I've heard so many stories about the gold and searching for it in the Philippines. You know, the Japanese gold.
Wow.
And they have programs on TV that even still go into that bullshit. People looking for it.
And that's just one. That's just one portfolio piece, right? I mean, have you had any other experiences where maybe not at that level, but where like strange things, strange circumstances, or was that the strangest portfolio piece that you?
Probably the strangest. That's the strangest one.
I mean, God, I feel like I made it out alive after something like that.
There she is. It's the birthday person.
Whoa! Oops, good thing it was water.
Good one. Good one.
Oh.
That'll dry quick.
Anything for attention. When you talk about a 2,500 square foot of office space facing the Rocky Mountains
Yeah.
in Aurora, Colorado.
I mean, Coors could rent that out. The Coors Beer Company could rent
It's
something like
like-
that out.
And the shape of the building was like this.
A
toward
triangular?
the Rockies. So it had a flat face here and then angled faces there. And that was all looking to the...
Most beautiful sight in the world.
Yeah, really.
So, so in a way,
So I figured, worst case scenario, I could use small space there for my office.
the best case scenario
and the
is
rest rent it out.
yeah, for a nice profit margin. I'm just intrigued because you're like you said yourself you didn't go through like a master's program for architecture. You just somehow worked your way up, and it's like nowadays 2020, you have a master's degree and you're at home in your mom's basement not doing shit. It's like it's just a different world.
Well, I think it has to do with partly guts and just how you look at things, how you handle things. It's not a big deal, really. Life is pretty simple. It really is. It's just we make it complicated. But
How do you think people complicate stuff?
well, it's like if you look at a job, a project, or a activity that you are thinking about getting involved in, and you have confidence in yourself that you can do that. It's no big deal. And you jump on it and you do it. And yet there are dozens of other people who may have the same opportunity and look at it and are fearful of what might happen. It's not so much guts, it's just that they don't have the strength of conviction to be able to do something. It's really, most things are not that big a deal. Most things in life, there's always exceptions, but most things in life are no big deal. Just
Wow.
bite the bullet and do it. Holy mackerel. Artists are at the other end of the stick. Normally, they do things because they have this inside conviction or strong feeling that they're doing something that is special. And when you mention the artists and doing that, I'm just thinking, well, that applies to almost anything, really. You can do anything you set your mind to do. Really, literally.
Right.
And unless you have an affliction in your mind that prevents you from putting two and two together or whatever it is, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And you, as a teacher, you're at the threshold of life. You're training other people. No, really, this is such an important thing that you have the ability to be able to do this, and you can do anything. There's absolutely nothing in this world that you couldn't do if you want to. If you set your mind to it and do it.
Yeah.
Really, there is.
Well,
You have to have that feeling inside to eliminate the fears of failure or whatever fears that might exist, pushing somebody to go in the water and it's cold and they don't have a lot of experience. Hi, little bird. He just flew right down underneath you. Little shit. Well, the problem is, Nancy, you shouldn't bark like that. Welcome
So you
home.
missed it. Mom just came out in her bra and diaper, asking if we had food for Princess.
Hey, good boy.
I'm like,
Good
Mom,
boy.
it's so cold. She's like, no, I need food for her.
Did you know how
geez.
interesting your father is?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me this last time I came over.
I didn't know I
I'm
was
weird.
supposed to. Well, yes, he is that. You got to watch out
Can't
for the
help
jokes. Sometimes they're too much. But, you know,
Can't
they're
help
dad
it.
jokes. That's how it is. Ask Poppy. Poppy used to have his jokes where Doris would be like, hi, birthday girl.
Everybody has to seek their own level at some point. And however much you might suggest or recommend or show somebody how to do something, they may or may not take it in their heart to do what it is you're trying to show them. So I didn't used to put a lot of store in that whole scenario about trying to train siblings or anything other than I mentioned earlier about taking them out in the ocean
Yeah.
and teaching them how to swim out there without fear and without the other crap that goes with it. Because that's what's interesting about that whole thing is once a year or thereabouts, you hear about somebody who goes out swimming in Maui and gets eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
And this is somebody who is capable swimmer, all this kind of stuff. They're out by themselves, which isn't a real good idea, but such is life, you know. You should be able to do that if you feel like you want to. But you hear about that happening, and it makes you wonder, geez, you know, when this guy's number was up, or you know, it's not very cool, you know. It's just
Right.
because you think somebody's been swimming all their life, and here they are on vacation over in Maui, which maybe they've done 100 times before, and lo and behold, shark decides to take a liking to them and
Boy, you want to go swimming in the pool with Angela?
chomps them.
I mean, you know what it sounds like to me is like a car accident. You know, you can't really predict. It's a car accident. So when you know, like if your brother passes away in a car accident, he's the best driver in the world. You know, there's no power of it. You know, there's no control that you can have
Yeah.
in that. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to? I mean, I'm not saying this is anybody real. I'm just as an example.
You're real.
I'm real, but see, I'm going through it too. Like in the sense where, like, I see my siblings doing stuff, and it's like, I would do it differently. Why do you do it that way? And I have this like possessiveness and this like desire to control, you know, in the back of my head. But it's to no avail. It's just wasted energy as much as I can feel it. And I just wonder, what's the better route then? Just let them do it? Just let them make mistakes? Let them go through the speed bumps?
I think you should always try.
Natalie, where'd you say
You
my
should always try to improve things. And if you
So it's not wasted energy
No,
in
if you
trying to
think-
help somebody.
if you think your advice is right on and should help redirect them a little bit, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You know, it's
Yeah.
nothing to make a big deal of. But inside of us, we should always try to make things better. If you see an opportunity, if you see somebody doing something and you think there's a better way to do it, explain your position to them.
And if they get angry at you and they tell you you're stupid and you're wrong, why would you tell me that?
Screw it. Who cares? You know, you're doing this because you feel inside that you want to help. And then, of course, there's Angela.
You think about architecture at all? You know, you lay around, you ever think about like the plans you ever made?
Well, everything I do is, in some way, goes back to architecture.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm looking at something, I'm thinking about it in a certain way. But hell, I'm 80 years old now, and my house, my office burned down from fire a year and a half ago, and I'm pretty much just threw in the towel after that. I just figured,
Yeah.
I've had a few clients call me and wanted me to do some things for them.
No kidding.
I don't feel like it right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this dialysis crap, which I have to do, it's taking my blood and recirculating it, cleaning it,
Right. Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah.
as the kidneys would normally do when they're working.
Yeah.
And I thought, when they first started talking about this, I thought, shit, I'm not going to be in dialysis. That's a bunch of crap. Because that pretty much ties you up for 1, 2, or 3 days a week.
And they got to stick you with something, like stick you with the needle every time?
Oh, yeah. They poke.
Different place? It's always a different place?
It's always here.
Same place around?
Yeah, what they did, this is what's called a fistula. And they took the artery and the vein and tied them together.
Oh, wow.
And so this is the area where they connect.
Every time?
Yeah, every time. And then it goes into a machine, and for 3.5 hours of...
You sit there?
Yeah. Which is a bunch of crap.
Does it scare you?
No, not scare me.
process?
It's just... sometimes it's painful. But it's what it is. It has to happen, somehow in my process, I screwed up my kidneys. Not real clear how.
And you're 80 or you're older than 80?
I'll be 81 in October. So I'm 80. And I don't know if I'll be around for another 5 years or 10 years or 5 months or who knows what.
You don't feel like you're 80. You're just the same guy.
No, it really crept up on me. All of a sudden, I was 80 years old and I thought, holy shit, that's old.
Did you ever get the sense that the days and the months and the years are just flying off the calendar? After a while, you're like, oh, I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, I'm 80.
I never used to think much about age until last year or two. Just what it is,
Like not physically, like in terms of your body and your organs, but mentally, do you feel like the same guy you've always been? You're the same guy. Obviously, you've grown, like in ways, like you've developed as a human being. I don't mean in that way.
I have the strength that I did before.
And you mean physical strength?
Yeah, I lost a lot of strength from the first 1.5 years of this crap. Lost weight and just don't have the strength. An example, I fall down and I couldn't get myself back up. It's the stupidest thing. You feel so helpless. And I'm sure I could redirect some of my energies to exercise and re-strengthen the components and get myself back in a better shape. Haven't had the enthusiasm, I guess.
In your life, have you ever experienced a time where you could sit back and like reflect on this life? Or is it always just a new day? Because I get the sense that it's always a new day. And it's never like a time to reflect on decades of life,
I think it's always a new day. What's there to reflect on?
I don't know. That's what I wonder. I try to appreciate stuff, but you get so swept up.
Well, if you think about the earth and trying to do the right thing by the Earth in terms of the environment and how we're dealing with so many things that are killing the Earth, really.
Yeah.
If we direct our energies to solving that, to contributing to a better planet, let's say, and recognizing that things like global warming and all the other things that are attached with it, sea rising, and everything is going to be just part of the program, and you roll with the punches. Shouldn't be any big deal, you know. But devoting your energies to helping rather than contributing to the mess. I mean, simple things that
Oh, the hockey video? Yeah, my Snapchat is like, it keeps going back every year.
people ignore. Oh, you know what really gets me is this whole issue about masks. Wearing a mask and how degrading and how terrible this is. And the whole principle behind it is you're trying to help prevent your neighbor from getting sick. Has nothing to do with you. You know? And these people are looking at it like it's some kind of a infringement on their freedom and everything. And it's so stupid. Absolutely stupid. Yet that's what we're faced with. That's not the environmental issue that I was referring to, but that's
Right. It's a good example.
just how crazy things can get.
You know, you've seen, like I can only think of a few presidents that I remember. Like I think of, so Trump, and then we had Obama, then we had George Bush, then we had Clinton, and I don't remember before Clinton, but you probably can remember a bunch of presidents. Have you, after all these years, have you ever had faith in politics? Have you ever thought to yourself hey, these guys know what they're doing?
Obama was a good president, I think. He was a good man. Jimmy Carter was a pretty good
Jimmy
guy.
Carter. I mean, that guy, I don't know about now, but up until
Kind
a couple
of
years
on
ago,
the
he was building
weak side,
houses.
Kind of on the, not a real forceful energy, but still, he was a good guy.
Yeah. What about the Kennedys?
John Kennedy was.
Yeah,
a
it seemed
good
like they were
guy,
trying
too.
to do some good stuff.
He was a good guy. He was a
Catholic, I think.
he was a rabble rouser, though. He used to run off with women and all that kind of stuff.
That whole
was a big-
bloodline, it seemed like.
Big problem for, when you look at the sanctity of marriage, and here they have kids and everything else, and he's out there playing around. I didn't like that at all. But politics is such a bunch of horseshit most of the time. It really is. I'm Democrat, which doesn't mean diddly squat. But I look at what the Republicans are doing, what they have conjured up over the last few years, and it is just appalling. It's just absolutely ridiculous that you would have that kind of person running things in Washington. I'm not even talking about the president. We know that guy's a lunatic. He's just a nutcase. And his niece, I guess it is, Mary, who wrote this most recent book, really lays it on the line. She's a psychologist.
Yeah, I think she has a PhD.
She was a judge, and she just levels it right out there. And it's so amazing how somebody with all the ailments and problems that Trump has to have done what he's done. Not meaning that he's done something good, but that's just amazing. That's all I can think of. Well, I'm more of optimistic about that. I feel that the right people in the right place will make a difference. And that, unfortunately, we've had years of bad people in the right place. And just like Trump is always trying to tear down Obama, anything Obama did, he's eliminated or rescinded or done something, just fuck it up.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that he's not the answer, but what are you?
Looks brand new. What is that? A neck
Mission
gator?
cooling. Neck. Exactly.
It's a nice day today. A little warm, but it's a nice day.
Well, it's about time.
Ooh.
Sounds like you mean business there, Leslie.